Would you talk to us a little bit about how you view the testing issue in education and the trying, I'll be honest, as I feel, make teachers the scapegoat, and they're not. The problem with our educational system, as Rosario mentioned, we may have problems with our educational system. It is not the fault, in my opinion, of the teachers. Could you talk a little bit about education and what you see?
You know, what we've been seeing is that we cut education funding, give teachers less resources, and then the schools get worse, and we blame the teachers and give them less resources, schools get worse. And I think that's intentional. I think they're intentionally trying to move us to a charter school system, to a private school system.
Privatize the whole school.
Privatize the entire system. What we have to do is not only just to give our teachers more resources, but send the message to our students that education is important, because what we do now is every time we have a budget shortfall, the first thing we cut is education spending. Well, what that says to our students is that your education is not important because it's the most expendable thing we have. You know, from a federal perspective, there's not a whole lot you can do to affect the state education system, but one thing I propose is creating a National Education Council that is made up of teachers and administrators that will set minimum textbook and curriculum standards, and meeting those standards will directly affect the aid you get from the federal government. To get states like Texas to stop doing things like taking Thomas Jefferson out of the history books and putting the Heritage Foundation and NRA in there. Another thing I've proposed is securing the funds for a pilot program for Texas that would provide what I call floating teachers, that would have, you have your traditional teacher that gives the lesson, and another teacher that would go class to class and assist students that need more tutoring, more assistance. It's something that's been experimented with a little bit. I know in Garland Independent School District they've done it a little bit, and I know several public school teachers there, and they love it. They think it's an excellent program. I'd like to at least start a pilot program here in Texas using that. And as far as standardized testing, I think all we're doing is forcing our teachers to teach students how to take a particular test. I remember even back when I was in high school, they had already started doing that. They taught you strategies to take the test. I remember the first class I had in college was a writing class, freshman level writing class. We walk in, the first day the professor says, okay, forget everything you learned about writing a paper in high school because that's wrong. I'm going to teach you how to write a paper now, because they had taught you how to write for the test. At the time it was the TOS test, but they taught you how to write for that. They didn't actually teach you how to write a paper, and it was because everything is based on those tests. And I think we have to get away from that.
Yes, we do, as teachers, and it's very stressful for the teachers and the students to have to worry about those tests. So it really takes away from what you could do in the classroom and what you could do for the test.
If you don't think I care about public education, I have to, because my aunt is a teacher. That's my aunt right there.
I'm
Yes.
kind of interested in your stance on environmental and political issues, specifically the Keystone XL pipeline, and whether you think it's inevitable or viable, or whether something that Texas should not really be
Well,
supporting.
I don't think it's inevitable at all. If you see, there's actually potential charges being filed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, because what they did was they gave the American government different job numbers than what they gave the Canadian government. They told us much higher job numbers than what they told the Canadian government. And what that means is that they lied. They gave false information that could potentially drive up stock prices, and so they're actually being investigated for that now. So no, I don't think it's inevitable.
John Maynard, someone who was gang.
Yes, yeah, John Maynard.
Significantly
Yes.
from that, and
Yes.
But
what,
you're willing to stand against it as a
oh yeah. More oil is not feasible, not a feasible energy policy. That's the Republicans talk about drill more, drill now, whatever they say. We have 5% of the world's oil reserves and use 25% of the world's oil. It's math. We can't drill our way out of it. We have to invest in alternative forms of energy. We really need to look at what's going on with fracking and the chemicals they're pumping into the ground to see water. But not only that, the water they're using, we don't have an unlimited supply of water. And so you're talking about, I forgot how many millions of gallons of water, I don't know if anybody knows the number off the top of their head, but it's millions and millions of gallons they want to use to pump into the ground for fracking. Well, Texas as a state, we don't have enough water. And so I think that's another way we have to look at the fracking issue. I live in the Dallas area, and I'm sure it's an issue up here as well, but what are they pumping into the ground? What kind of effects is it having? We've started to have more seismic activity since they've been fracking in areas that didn't have seismic activity before. And so I think it's something that if it's going to be done at all, it must be regulated very strictly.
Now, do we want to drink water or burn it?
Exactly. Do we want to drink it or burn it? I'd rather drink it. Yes, Alex.
Last time the Violence Against Women Act got brought up, the only Republicans who voted for it were the women senators, including Kay Bailey Hutchison, who's retiring. Since this is a seat that's up for grabs, it doesn't appear that any of the Republicans running would have voted for it. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, I absolutely would vote for it. I don't really understand the Republicans' whole strategy here on women. Let's just make them as mad as we can so they won't vote for us. I don't know, but 51% of the voters are women, and let's just make them as angry as we can. I think they were just playing games with the Violence Against Women Act. I mean, I guess good for us. It's a losing game that they're playing, but I would 100% have voted for it.
Are you familiar with the Glass-Steagall Act?
Actually, yes. If you look on my website, it's part of my economic plan because what we've been doing with our current crisis, I like to say our economy's sick. We've been addressing the symptoms but not the disease. And part of that is the banking system is the disease. So I've proposed introducing a modified version of the Glass-Steagall Act that would cover the advanced derivatives trading and that sort of thing that weren't around when they passed the original Glass-Steagall Act, which is unfortunately done away with. And I think we just saw this week with JP Morgan Chase that we need something like that.
How do you feel about going back to separating investment banking from
No, absolutely.
real banking?
They should be separate. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
That's the main reason I support it, reinstituting the Glass-Steagall. Yes.
Talking about gay rights, I know one of the things that really upsets me is something that my father had to go through, the segregation of putting people into second-class citizen, and that's something more about a person today.
I just had a really fun radio show where I got into an argument with an African-American minister about LGBT rights. And he was saying, Obama's trying to force our church to marry gay people. I was trying to explain to him, no, he's not. You're talking about two different issues. You're talking about religious marriage versus what the government, civil marriage, what the government views things as. The government views marriage as a contract between two people that guarantees certain rights. I support marriage equality. It's on my literature, which we've got some here. It's on my website, and I'll tell you why. A couple different reasons. I know a couple little girls. Their names are Emerson and Noah. They're sisters. They have two mothers. And I thought, we are denying rights to those two little girls because they have two mothers. We are punishing them. But also, my wife and I, at different points in American history, would have been denied the right to marry. We were different races, different religions, and different nationalities. And so someone stood up for us, and it's my turn to stand up for someone else. But in the end, America doesn't discriminate. We should be discriminated. It's a contract between two people, and any two people should be able to enter into that contract.
I got some.
Yes.
How do you feel about Systems United?
I think it was a horrible decision. And I'm sort of a Supreme Court nerd because I have the Supreme Court app on my phone. Typically what has been the standard for regulating speech, if we just want to forget about the whole, even if, and I don't concede this point, but even if you wanted to concede that corporations are the same as people, the standard for the Supreme Court allowing regulation of speech has always been a compelling governmental interest. Well, a compelling interest would have been fair and honest elections. And I think they completely ignored that aspect of it. I also don't think corporations are people, but I also think that they showed a lack of foresight and not seeing the damage that would be done by that. And they did say they would look at it if it had negative effects on our electoral process. Hopefully, I know John McCain has written a brief to the Supreme Court asking them to reconsider the case. Hopefully they will. But I really think we need to go further than that. We need publicly financed campaigns because I don't think we get a more responsive Washington until we make our representatives indebted to the voters instead of indebted to the big contributors and corporate PACs and locals. And actually, if we did that, it would make lobbying actual lobbying instead of writing campaign checks. Because what lobbying is supposed to be, it's supposed to be people coming, giving our representatives a side of the story, giving you information, but now it's just become which group can write you the biggest check. And so I think we have publicly financed campaigns and we turn lobbying into what it's